The truth I am about to share is painful, not just for me, but perhaps for us both. I've carried it like a dagger under silk, hidden beneath royal garments, behind a composed smile that the world praises but never questions. It's a truth that trembles on my lips each time your name is whispered through the chambers of my heart. This poem, this confession, is not meant for the world's ears. It is carved only for you, from the soul of a man who has loved in silence and bled behind golden curtains. My kingdom is grand, but there are chambers even the moon hasn't seen. One such chamber holds the memory of you, untouched, sacred, unspoken. They speak of honor, duty, legacy. But what of the ache that silences me in my own home? What of the moments I wanted to shout your name across deserts and let the wind carry it into every prayer? I loved you before I even knew what that word meant beneath the weight of titles. And I've loved you still, knowing the crown would never allow such a reckless storm. Many assume my poetry is for the masses, words woven for admiration. But it was always you, hidden in metaphors, tucked in verses, wearing the veil of mystery. I dressed you in silence because the world wouldn't understand a prince choosing a woman for her soul rather than her status. And while others saw pride in my restraint, I drowned in the agony of not reaching for the only hand that steadied me. I watched you from the shadows of my own palace. I saw you smile through uncertainty, your eyes screaming questions I could never answer. I watched suitors approach and depart, none brave enough to understand the fire within you. And each time they left, I felt the burn of their absence, knowing I could be everything you needed, but wasn't allowed to be. My silence became my betrayal, and this poem, perhaps my atonement. My father once told me, the crown doesn't bend for emotion, but what if the crown is heavier because of that? What if the kingdom I led is incomplete because you were never allowed to stand beside me? I've seen kings rule with iron and fall with nothing. But I am prepared to lose everything if it means I can finally speak your name without fear, without consequence, without shame. You deserved more than stolen glances and guarded words. You deserved a man who could shout your worth in every court, not hide you in dusty verses. I regret every time I let tradition silence what my heart screamed for. And tonight, this truth escapes not because I am brave, but because I can no longer live behind this veil. My silence no longer protects, it punishes. The truth is, I chose you long before anyone else had a chance. In my thoughts, you were already the queen of my soul. But duty chained my hands while my heart roared your name like a warrior denied the battlefield. My poems were love letters I was too weak to send, echoes of a devotion that royalty could not permit. Now, I release them, knowing it may be too late, but needing you to know, at last. There were nights I dreamt of simpler worlds, where titles didn't matter and my hand fit into yours without judgment. I'd trade every jewel for a single moment of peace beside you, a life away from palaces, where I could be just a man in love, not a prince in pain. But this world isn't kind to men like me. It rewards obedience, not honesty. You may ask why now, after all this time. Because pain finds its voice when silence begins to rot the soul. Because I owe you truth, even if it's wrapped in sorrow. Because my every poem has built to this moment, where I strip away every metaphor and say, I loved you, and I still do. That's the truth I can no longer hide. They may say this poem is a scandal. Let them. Let the world gossip, let the critics dissect each line. I do not write this for them. I write this for the woman who once looked at me like I was more than a prince. For the woman who deserves more than secrets and silence. For the woman whose absence has haunted every step of my rise. If destiny denies us again, then may this poem remain, proof that I was once brave enough to tell the truth. Not the truth that pleases the throne, but the truth that breaks a man down to his bare heart. I will no longer write behind masks. Let my ink bleed. Let my pain roar. Let the world see what love looks like when it's buried too long beneath royal chains. And if these words ever reach you, know this, I didn't write them hoping for your forgiveness. I wrote them because I could no longer live without telling you what I truly feel. You were my muse, my mirror, my missing half. And in every line, every pause, every breath, I was loving you, even in silence. There were days when I rehearsed our story in my head 1,000 different ways, wondering how the world would react if they saw the truth behind my carefully curated silence. I imagined the scandal, the whispers, the raised brows in the halls of nobility. But even louder than all of that was the aching sound of your laughter echoing in my memory, a reminder of everything I sacrificed in the name of caution. I wasn't afraid of love, I was afraid of the war it would ignite. But what is a war compared to a life lived in regret? The truth haunts me in quiet corners, the scent of jasmine reminding me of your presence, a familiar melody pulling me back to a night when your hand brushed mine, and we both pretended not to notice. It's in those stolen moments I find the purity of what we had, or what we could have had, if the world had been just a little kinder. They say royalty lives in luxury, but they forget we bleed too. And I, more than anyone, have bled behind locked doors for a woman I was never supposed to love. I crafted illusions, perfect for public eyes. I smiled when I wanted to cry, I nodded when my soul screamed rebellion. Yet through all the masquerades, my heart remained tethered to yours. There is no throne wide enough to stretch across the distance I placed between us. I built walls, not to keep you out, but to protect you from a world that would never understand why a prince would choose love over lineage. But in doing so, I also locked. I wonder if you ever felt my love in the wind that touched your skin or in the nights you found yourself awake without knowing why. I used to hope you did. I used to believe our hearts were in quiet conversation when words were forbidden. But I can no longer rely on fate to whisper my truths. I owe you more than that. I owe you the honesty I denied you, the words I swallowed, the years I wasted in the name of image and order. The weight of this truth has aged me in ways no mirror can show. My heart feels older than the years I've lived, burdened by longing and drenched in memories. I have walked through palaces surrounded by 1,000 voices, yet none could fill the silence you left behind. I have ruled with dignity, but never with peace. My victories have been loud, but my losses, especially the loss of you, have been deafeningly quiet. If love is a rebellion, then consider this poem my uprising. Against expectations, against timelines, against the silence that has starved us both. I do not care if they call me foolish. Let them say I am unfit to rule if loving you makes me a traitor to tradition. Because I would rather lose my place in a golden lineage than lose the memory of your eyes believing in me before I believed in myself. You were never a secret in my heart, you were the anthem. Every time I fell, it was your strength I clung to in spirit. And even now, if the world demands I carry this pain alone, I will carry it with honor. Because it was born of love. A real, raw, undiluted love that no royal ceremony could ever replicate. I do not regret loving you. I only regret not saying these words sooner, when they still had the power to change the course of our fate. Sometimes I wonder where you are now. If you still carry the unanswered questions I left behind, if your heart ever aches with the same dull throb mine does. Have you moved on? Have you forgiven me in silence? Or have you buried me in the same forgotten places I buried my courage? I have no right to ask, and yet my soul cries out for any trace of you. A name, a whisper, even a shadow passing under a familiar moon. Tonight, I do not write as a prince. I write as a man who has failed at love, who has loved more deeply than he was allowed, and who can no longer bear the weight of unspoken feelings. This poem is my offering, not for redemption, but for release. If my voice trembles in these lines, it's because the truth, though freeing, is also frightening. But still, I write. I write because silence is no longer an option. There was once a boy who believed love would conquer all. That boy still lives in me, bruised but not broken. And though I walk as a leader now, I carry his hope like a hidden gem close to my chest. I want you to know he never stopped loving you. Not even when the world demanded he forget. Not even when every mirror he looked into reflected the absence of your face. And so I give this to you, not as a plea for return, not as an echo of the past, but as the only way I know to honor what we shared. You were never just a chapter. You were the story. And though we may never walk side by side, I will carry the light of your name in every room I enter. Because the truth is, I loved you. I still do. And that is the most painful, most beautiful truth I have ever known. If I am remembered for anything, let it be for this truth, that behind the titles, the wealth, the duty, there lived a man who once loved with every drop of his soul, even when the world said he couldn't. And in that love, despite the pain it brought, I found the only part of myself worth writing poems for. This love we built wasn't fragile, but even the strongest walls crack under pressure when one heart starts doubting. I kept reaching for you, even when your arms pulled away. I wrote to you in silence, spoke to you in my prayers, and waited for the moment you'd remember who I truly am. Not the version painted by outsiders, but the one you touched, kissed, and trusted when the world still made sense. I won't ask for much, just for you to look into your own memories. Ask yourself if a man who brought you roses with trembling hands, who whispered your name into poetry, who dreamed of building a life with you, could so easily become a villain. The story they're telling you doesn't match the soul you loved. And you, more than anyone, should know that. I never needed applause for my loyalty, just your belief. But now, stripped of that, I stand here naked in truth, waiting for you to remember the rhythm of my sincerity. I didn't lose my way. I didn't forget your worth. I didn't chase anyone else when my heart was already full of you. If anything, I lost myself trying to prove a loyalty that should have never been questioned. Sometimes I wonder if you've already seen me, on a screen, in a dream, or in a passing vision. If you've looked at my face without understanding why your heart paused for a second too long. Maybe you turned away, not knowing you had just seen the one written for you. It's a beautiful thought, that we might be strangers in this world but old lovers in a realm beyond it. Perhaps our hearts remember what our eyes have not yet